Okay, here's a few tricks with text. So I'm going to click on the text tool on the left hand side. When I'm working with text for effects, I like to use a really large font first of all and then reduce it later on. You'll see why a little bit later. So we're using a font size of 60. Select your font and type in the text. White on white doesn't look good. Just backspace on there. Change the font colour first of all. Okay, we just click the tick on the options bar and use the move tool to drag it into position. Okay, so what we're going to do with this is we're going to copy this layer first of all. So we go to the layers. See we're on the layer there, simply layer. I'll right click on the layer, duplicate the layer, click on OK. And then what we do, using the move tool, so I've got the move tool selected there, I'm going to go to the top handle, the graphic handle in the middle there, and just drag that down that way. Press the enter key to apply the transformation. Use the move tool to move that up to the other selection. Line it up. There we go. So what we're now going to do is to get a gradiated transparency on that. So we make sure we're on the layer still, and we go to layer on the menu. And what we want now is a layer mask, so we go to layer mask and we'll select reveal all. So basically it stops exactly how it is. Now working with masks, if I just click on the mask, if you look at the layer there, we've got the text layer there, and this white area is the mask. White means it's got full opacity, no transparency whatsoever. If I paint with black and white, I can change that. So if you see on the colour picker there, I'm on black. And if I select a paintbrush and I paint, and I'm painting on the mask, not actually on the typing, you can see I can delete. I've got an opacity there at 61, let's put it up all the way. I can delete part of that. If I paint in white, so I reverse the colours to white, I can paint back in what I want on that. So that's using the paintbrush. What I'm actually going to use though is the gradient tool. So usually you've got the paint bucket selected on the left hand side there. If I hold down the mouse and select the gradient tool, and we select on the picker there black and white. Now the way this works, if we got white on the top, that is actually the part that's opaque that you can't see through, and the black is going to be the transparent. So if we're painting from white to black, I need to be working from the top. I'm going to position the mouse, hold down the mouse and drag the selection down, and you can see I've actually got the reverse of what I'm going to need. Yeah, so I'm going to work from the bottom, work up that way, so you can see you can get which effect you want. You can have it with the opacity at the top or the transparency at the bottom. Black is the transparent, white, if we look at the layer there, you can see the whites at the top. So that's the piece that's got the opacity, and at the bottom we've got the black. That's the transparency area. And basically you can go in any direction and get the effect that you want. You could go diagonal. Every time you click, we're going to go straight down. Now to get a straight line, if I hold down the mouse and hold down the shift key, you'll see that it moves then at angles, so I can get a true transparency down there. I'll just come down a bit further. Actually, we'll do it the other way up, so I'll start at the bottom, hold down the shift key and go up that way. There we go. So that's got the gradiated mirror effect. Now what I'm going to do is actually, we're using a vector style image. So if we're using text, that's what's called a vector image. It's very sharp every time you resize it. It doesn't involve pixels. It works with fills and lines, so it always remains the same quality. So we're actually going to change that now. We're going to what's called rasterize these two layers. So I click on the T there, and then I hold down the shift key and click on the T below. Then I right click on the layers and I click on rasterize type. So this now changes it to what's called a bitmap, which is the same as the images that you take with your camera. It's made up of dots now, not text, and that's why I made it large to start with, because we're actually going to make this smaller, so we won't lose the quality. If we resize it to make it larger, we'll start to lose quality. Okay, so with the two layers selected, we're now going to merge those together. So I'll right click, merge layers, and then if we use the move tool, we can move that around the screen to where we want. You can see you've got the nice effect there. You can also add other effects to it. If we look at the bottom of the layers menu down here on the palette, we've got a little effects button at the bottom there. You can just see to put the mouse around there. If I click on that, we've got all these different effects. I'll go to drop shadow, and that brings up this box. So working on the drop shadow, I can change the distance of the shadow, the opacity. I'm actually going to take the opacity down quite low on this. Then we click on OK. Okay, so that's got the effects that I want. Now let's say I want to distort that. You can distort text. You can use styles in the text layers to do concave and whatever you want to do with that, but it's a bit limited to what you can do with a bitmap image. So now if we go to edit, transform, we've got all these selections that you can't actually do with text. You can only do this with bitmap images. So we're going to select warp, which puts on these grids, and just by dragging within there, bending the corners, I can apply whatever effect I want to do. You can see I can just move that around like jelly and get the effect that I want. Click on the tick at the top to transform, or press enter. You see we start losing a little bit of quality when we start distorting things, but that's why I've done it actually larger than what I need. If I now resize that, it being smaller, we'll get the quality back. So always work larger than what you actually want. And there we've got a rather cool text effect that you can rotate also using the move tool if you want an angle on there. There we go.